Darth Plagueis was a legendary Dark Lord of the Sith, trained by the Sith Master Darth Tenebrous. During his time as a Sith Lord and studying the Force, Plagueis acquired a vast amount of knowledge about the dark side and its teachings. The period when Plagueis came to possess his Sith apprentice was unknown, but the Dark Lord chose Sheev Palpatine, a human from Naboo, as his apprentice. As master and disciple, Plagueis and Palpatine, who took the Sith moniker Darth Sidious, worked together for years, trying to unlock the secrets of immortality as Plagueis lusted for it and to execute the Sith Order's long percolating plan of supplanting the Galactic Republic with a new Sith Empire. While training Sidious, Plagueis taught him that 2 Sith were required for their perilous machinations. So if they worked together in accordance to the rule of 2, with one of them serving as a bait for the dark side of the Force and the other as a vessel, they would succeed in acquiring the ability to harness the full power of the dark side and rule immortal for 10,000 years. While apprenticed by Plagueis, Sidious also built his own lightsabers. Plagueis attempted to forge a Force dyad with Sidious, a unique Force bond as strong as life itself, and which was the predecessor to the rule of 2. However, Plagueis was unsuccessful in forming the dyad. Believing the secrets to immortality lie in science, Plagueis conducted in-depth research into the biological underpinnings of life. Some of that research constituted unnatural experiments through his ability to coax the midi-chlorians in an attempt to cheat death that, though incomplete, were encouraging to his apprentice. The Sith Order had long coveted the ability to live forever, unwilling to accept the Jedi Order's belief that death was a natural part of life. But over the centuries, generations of Sith Lords failed to unlock the ability that led to eternal life. He was so obsessed with the subject that he ignored the signs that his faithful apprentice was progressing in a disturbing way for him. According to Darth Sidious's book, The Secrets of the Sith, Plagueis discovered a form of immortality through transference, a Force power that allowed the user to transfer his consciousness to another body, essentially using bodies as vessels. Darth Plagueis had arranged for his apprentice to become the Senator of Naboo and the rest of the Chomel sector, with Sidious being elected as Palpatine in 52 BBY. By the time that Sidious, under his public persona of Sheev Palpatine, was appointed to the Galactic Senate as the Senator of Naboo, Plagueis was still teaching him, which allowed Palpatine to sharpen his political skills within the plan imagined for him by his master before they returned to Coruscant. According to Sidious, Plagueis was powerful enough that he could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life and keep the ones he cared about from dying, a precious knowledge that awarded him the epithet of the Wise. However, Plagueis also developed a belief that the Force could strike back at him for his power. In truth, he became so powerful that the only thing he still dreaded was losing his power. Ultimately, Plagueis' only fear was bound to come true. At some point, Sidious had learned everything he needed from his distracted master, after which he decided that he had no further use for his teacher. In accordance with the Rule of 2 tradition, Sidious broke into his master's apartment and disposed of Plagueis, murdering his mentor in cold blood, killing him in his sleep, and ascending to ultimate power and acquiring the title of Sith Master for himself. As noted by Sidious, Plagueis didn't act fast enough to prevent his own demise. Sometime before or after Plagueis' demise, Sidious acquired his own pupil in the Night Sister Mother Talzin's son, Darth Maul, a young Dathomirian Zabrak whom Sidious had accepted from Talzin when he was only a child. Sidious accomplished his ascendance as a Dark Lord of the Sith by killing Plagueis, adhering to the Sith Order's tradition in which the apprentice completed his dark side training by killing his master. Plagueis' legacy continued through Sidious. With the death of Plagueis, Sidious not only gained the status of Master, but also acquired 11-4D, the late Sith Lord's multi-limbed assistant. In addition, Sidious also inherited Plagueis' studies, in-depth research into the biological underpinnings of life, with the end goal of discovering how to cheat death. Plagueis' death served as an example to the apprentice who betrayed and killed him. Sidious regarded his master's trust in him as a mistake, which he vowed to never make. During the Clone Wars, Sidious was aware that his second apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, plotted to usurp his title of Sith Master by killing him. Sensing that Tyrannus' betrayal was imminent, Sidious successfully conspired to have his student killed by his intended replacement, the Jedi Knight, and prophesied Chosen One Anakin Skywalker. In the waning days of the Republic, Sidious recounted the history of his late master to Skywalker, whom he befriended years before the Clone Wars, in an effort to gradually turn him to the dark side of the Force. Skywalker, who was unaware at the time that his friend was in fact a Sith Lord, and having developed premonitions of his secret wife's death in childbirth, was intrigued by the story of Plagueis, particularly his ability to prevent death. When the fear of loss drove Skywalker to betray the Jedi Order, turning him into the Sith Lord Darth Vader, Sidious reformed the Republic into the Galactic Empire and declared himself Emperor. At the same time, he had the Jedi systematically executed throughout the galaxy by Order 66, completing the Sith plan that lasted for over a millennium. One of the few Jedi to survive was a Padawan named Ferren Barr. Barr began investigating as to why the Jedi fell so quickly and learned of Plagueis' existence, putting his file on him in his list of individuals involved in the crisis. In the years that followed his rise to power, Sidious came to genuinely, if posthumously, appreciate Plagueis for the planner and prophet he had been. Sometimes, Sidious mused about how his late master would have reacted when confronted with the trivial day-to-day matters of imperial politics, remarking that Plagueis never foresaw that he would become emperor. Sidious desired not just the immortality his master had craved and achieved, but the power to fashion a universe of his own creation and make it so the Force could not strike back. Plagueis' failure to form a dyad with his apprentice had convinced Sidious that his master was unworthy of the task. However, Sidious also failed to recreate the dyad with his own disciple Vader, despite their combined power as scions of the two strongest Force-sensitive bloodlines, the Palpatines and the Skywalkers. In 3 ABY, cultists searching the catacombs beneath the Sith Citadel on the planet Exegol, a secret Sith world that Palpatine had taken over, repeated Plagueis' name in something similar to a chant, along with the names of other Sith. During the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY, Sidious was killed by a redeemed Anakin Skywalker who turned back to the light side of the Force and threw Sidious down a reactor shaft to save his son, Luke Skywalker. While falling, however, Sidious reflected that he had prepared himself for that scenario unlike Plagueis and called on all the power of the dark side to leave his body and thrust his consciousness to a cloned body created by the Sith Eternal on the secret Sith world of Exegol. When Sidious used Plagueis' secret to immortality and his own research into mix of Sith sorcery and technology to resurrect his spirit in a new vessel, he was able to stave off death for a time, but immortality still eluded the Dark Lord. To this end, the transfer was imperfect. When Sidious thrusted his essence toward the new cloned vessel and had awoken, he realized the painful temporary existence he was now within, the body racked with decay in consequence to his massive power within the dark side of the Force, leading the Sith Lord toward death permanently if not dealt with. Because of this, Sidious mused that perhaps Plagueis, in the end, was having the final laugh over his apprentice as karma for his demise. In the years following the Empire's end, during the final stages of the war between the First Order and the Resistance, Sidious's granddaughter, Rey, tracked him down to Exegol as the Resistance and the Sith Eternal prepared for a final showdown. Before a redeemed Ben Solo came to her rescue, Sidious insisted his granddaughter to strike him down as he did with Plagueis, allowing Rey to read his mind and realize how he came back thanks to Plagueis' teachings. Ultimately, Rey used the voices and power of the past